Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate you guys being here today. Madam Clerk, I call this meeting to order.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We will ask that you please stand for our invocation, which will be shared with us today by Reverend Tommy L. Benjamin, pastor of the Trinity CME Church, after which we would like to ask our General Counsel, Mr. Wayne Brown, if he would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please bow with me. Creator and sustainer of all, it is good for us to be here in your presence. We gather as a community seeking guidance on the matters and tasks that are before us. Bless our efforts with clear insight, our deliberations with wisdom, our work with clarity and accuracy, and our decisions with impartiality. Help us to accomplish our goals and to stick to the agenda that has been outlined for us. We look to you now. In the name of our Lord, amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty for all.
Reverend Benjamin, will you please stand? Thank you. On behalf of the mayor and the members of the Augusta Commission, we would like to thank you for your prayers of wisdom, unity, and divine protection. We receive your thoughtfulness and your presence here today with us as an act of service for God. May He continue to bless you with peace, love, for your kindness shown toward us today. Thank you. And by these presents be it known that Reverend Tommy L. Benjamin, pastor of the Trinity CME Church, is chaplain of the day. May his spiritual guidance and civic leadership serve as an example for all citizens of Augusta. Given under my hand this third day of October, 2023, Garnett L. Johnson, Mayor. Again, thank you for being with us.
Reverend Benjamin, thank you so much for that prayer. It's greatly appreciated. Appreciate you being here with us today.
Mr. Mayor, can I get a quick point of privilege, please?
Yes, sir. Certainly. Mayor Chair recognizes the Commissioner from the 4th, Commissioner Alvin Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say, extend a gratitude and appreciation for those who have looked out for me, called me, gave me food for the soul, gave me soul food during these past couple of months that I've been out due to a couple of deaths in the family, as well as a couple of medical issues that I'm dealing with. So just before God and country, I just want to say thank you for all that you've done. You know who you are. You know what you've done. I cannot thank you enough for the prayers and the thoughts and the food as well that was brought to me during this time frame. So again, I just want to say thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Glad to have you back, sir. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. And with that, we'd like to acknowledge that Commissioner Brandon Garrett will not be in attendance to today's meeting.
Thank you, and noted.
Okay. Call your attention to the delegation portion of our agenda. Our first delegation, item A, Ms. Cheryl Fleming, regarding opposition to the renaming of the Augusta Riverwalk.
Good day, Ms. Fleming. Thank you so much for being here. If you don't mind, for the record, please state your name and address, and you'll have 5 minutes.
My name is not Cheryl Fleming, it's Cheryl Wilson.
Cheryl Wilson. Noted. Can you make sure that's noted for the
My
record?
address is 475 Falcon Drive, Augusta.
Thank you, ma'am. You have 5 minutes.
All right. Mayor Johnson, commissioners, thank you for allowing me to speak today. I felt called to do this since the first time I heard the proposal to rename Augusta Riverwalk. My husband, Mark Wilson Jr., and I often talk about the fact that we allowed prayer to be removed from our schools because we did not fight for what we believed in should be part of our children's and grandchildren's education. I'm one of a few to talk today about renaming Riverwalk, but I need to share why I am not for changing the name. I was born and raised here. I've loved historical buildings and homes we see all over our town. I have pictures of many of them throughout our home. My husband and I attended the reenactment of James Oglethorpe establishing Augusta as a colony right where the entrance to Riverwalk is today, before it was even imagined. I searched the internet for towns in America who have Riverwalks. All of them are named for the city, the state, the river, except for one, and that is in Oregon, Governor Tom McCall Waterfront Park. Even though that name is on that Riverwalk, the people there, according to the internet in many locations, still call it Waterfront Park. If a person's name should be part of our Riverwalk, then maybe Oglethorpe should be there. Augusta includes all of us, not just one person. And why waste the money to do this, period? So much time and energy has been spent already discussing this request. There are other things that need to be done. I feel renaming all of us, Riverwalk is a waste of taxpayers' money. Thank you again for allowing me to speak.
Ms. Wilson, thank you for being here, and we apologize for getting your last name wrong.
That's all right.
All right, seeing no colleagues in the queue. Madam Clerk, let's continue.
Our next delegation, Ms. Betty Powell, regarding naming of Riverwalk in honor of Ed McIntyre.
Ms. Powell, good day. Thank you for being here. If you would mind, please state your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Betty Powell. I live at 2 Retreat Road, Augusta, Georgia. And Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, good afternoon. I'm here as a concerned citizen also of Augusta and Richmond County to simply ask for a vote in renaming the Augusta Riverwalk. I would ask you to leave it as the Augusta Riverwalk or Riverwalk. The citizens paid for this, and it still should be our Riverwalk. The signs are beautiful now, and renaming it will cost lots of money to change everything. Eventually, another commission will come in, and they'll decide they don't like the name McIntyre Riverwalk. And they'll change it again, and that's just more money out the window. Simply take this money and add it to refurbishing, renewing, and beautifying the existing area, and upkeep with security. There are many Riverwalks in the country, as Cheryl just said, and to me, one of the most beautiful that is San Antonio, Texas, but it is just the Riverwalk. The Riverwalk in Greenville, South Carolina is absolutely beautiful and thriving every day. Anytime you go down there, it's busy. We're just asking just that. Please just leave the Riverwalk as the Riverwalk, as Augusta's Riverwalk, not anybody's name on it. Everything in the city doesn't have to be named for a person, living or dead. It's the money that just think about the money that the taxpayers are now spending on Fort Gordon to change the name to Fort Eisenhower because a group didn't like the name Fort Gordon. Remember what a debacle it was when Augusta College finally became Augusta University and how much money was spent on that. And now Sammy Sias Way is going to have to be changed because he's going to prison. I'm sure Mr. McIntyre was a fine man, but he did dishonor his office of mayor and the city and himself. because of his extortion conviction and sentencing to federal prison. Besides, it was Mayor Charles Devaney who did the work to set up Riverwalk. If you're going to name it for anybody, it would be him, but he wouldn't even want it named for him. And I simply want to ask you to leave the Riverwalk as it is now, and don't change it. We don't need it changed. We don't need anybody's name on it. It is Augusta Riverwalk. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Powell. See no colleagues in the queue. Madam Clerk, let's continue.
Okay. Our next delegation, Ms. Monique Braswell, regarding the annual feast before the feast event.
Good day, Ms. Braswell. Thank you so much for being here. If you don't mind, for the record, once you get settled in, please state your name and address for the record, and you will have 5 minutes.
Monique Braswell, 2831 Fairmont Street.
Thank you, ma'am. You have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, everyone. I stand before you. Is Maurice here? No. I stand before you. Come on, Maurice. Help me out.
I think that is
I
Director.
stand before you as I've stood before you several times. This is our 3rd year coming back to the commissioners as individuals, not as the city as a whole. If you look at the flyer before you, there are 4 community centers where we will be feeding families and children, communities for Thanksgiving. I started this program about 12 years ago with some of you all who are sitting up here now, and we have fed us up to 7,000 people. The menu has never changed. We've ran this program in 5 different locations over the years. Well, this year, the 3rd year coming back, in partners with Augusta Parks and Recreation, we are at 5 facilities again. 4 of them are in the Augusta Parks and Rec facilities. Last year, we fed over 3,000 people in 3 centers. McBeam Center tripled last year from what we did the first original year. The principal from McBeam has called me to find out where we still going to have the program. She said there was a great need out there. We did 700 people out there last year. I'm actually looking for the numbers to be at least 1,600. So me coming before you all today is to ask the commissioners individually for donations for us to be able to make this happen. There's a lot that goes into this. Last year, I didn't put a price on the donations that I asked this year because I am looking to hit that 7,000 mark for $200 per commissioner if possible, but we'll take whatever you can. Your money is well spent. And you don't see any sponsors on there because last year I had people jumping in last minute. That meant the flyer had to be continuously changed. We have dance teams who are sponsoring. They will sponsor all of the desserts and they will be there to help. Last year I believe it was Commissioner Johnson, Bobby, Scott, I want to say Mason and Garnett with the candy yams. This is a huge need. With the price of food going up and people not being able to afford this meal, the community needs this. We don't just give you a plate. If you come and you say that you have 6 people in your family and you're only there, I'm going to give you 6 plates. The food don't belong to me. The food belongs to the community. The food is paid for by the community. I know for a fact, having a senior mother that's older, sometimes I make her a plate, and she will eat off of that plate all week long. I want people to be able to eat and have that Thanksgiving meal. That's the same menu that I have on my table every year. Look like they took something out of there too. But whatever I have on my table, I want the community to have on their table. This goes down the week before school ends, and I think it's just a good look for the city overall.
Thank you, Ms. Braswell. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 7th, Commissioner
Thank you,
Franklin.
Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Braswell, for what you do. Can you give us a phone number or email to where the people want to support? We got a lot of people in the audience. We got TV cameras here. How do they get in contact with you if they want to support you as well?
So, my phone number is a public number. You can contact Parks and Recreation. They're gonna just send you over to me anyway. My email is mrsbras@gmail.com. My phone number is 706-399-4343. Also, let me clarify this. Any checks that are made are to be made to the Braswell Menegal Foundation. It is a 501c3 organization. So that's who, if you look at the flyer, that's who tells you Braswell Menegal Foundation, Augusta Parks and Recreation.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 10th. He jumped back in the queue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dr. Moe, thank you for coming before us. A lot of people don't realize and understand. I've been knowing you for right at 13 years.
Baby, I'm one of the reasons you were sitting in that chair some years
right.
ago.
And for 13 years, you have always been giving back through the scholarships, through the book bags. I've never seen a woman work as hard as this young lady here does.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you doing this, and we'll get together and I'll help you as well.
Right, let me know when to pick that check up.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Can we get some collard greens along with them yams this year? I'm serious. I mean, the price of food is so high.
I know a sweet potato farmer. I don't know a collard green farmer.
Okay, well, we'll take that. 5 locations.
All right. Thank you, ma'am, for being here. Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Madam Clerk, I see you smiling. I think that takes us to the consent portion of our agenda.
It does. And before we get started, you all have the addendum item request.
Yes, ma'am. Is there any objection to adding this addendum item?
Okay. All right.
Seeing none. It is added, madam.
We got problems?
All right.
Okay. Our consent agenda consists of items 1 through 6. Items 1 through 6.
1 through 6. All right, we're going through in the order in which stated. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 7th, Commissioner Franklin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If there's no questions from the colleagues, I'd like to add the following agenda items. Number 10, number 11, number 12, number 13, number 14, number 15, number 17.
All right, Commissioner from the 7th, is that it?
I'll come back.
We'll come back. All right. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 5th, Commissioner Williams.
Yes, sir. I want to consent 19, 20, and 21.
19, 20 through 21.
No, on that one at least.
Okay. There's objection to 19, 20, 21, Mr. Guilfoyle?
Mr. Guilfoyle,
Yes, ma'am.
are you
We could do
objecting?
that. That's convenient.
All right, so Madam Clerk, those 3 have been
Okay.
objected. Let's move on through the queue. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 4th, Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I could, please, under Engineering Services, I would like to consent items 24 through 29.
29. All right, Commissioner Mason, thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 9th. Commissioner Scott.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to consent 22 under administrative service.
Number 22, I don't see any objections to that.
I have objection to that one.
Actually, yeah.
All right.
Okay, so there's objection to 22.
There's an objection to 22.
Okay.
All right, Commissioner Williams, I see you in the queue. I'm gonna come back to you and go to Commissioner McKnight first, okay? Commissioner
Mr. Mayor.
McKnight. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to go ahead and table item number 33 under public safety to next week or the following week, since I will be out tomorrow at the Webster Detention Center taking a tour.
All right, so Commissioner from the 3rd is asked to delete, well,
You
table
want that
that
to the next committee, Commissioner,
to
please?
the next committee meeting.
Committee meeting?
Any
Yes.
objections to that? Seeing none?
And we'll just add that to the consent.
All right. So you're gonna add 33 to consent?
Yes, sir, just to move it to the next committee meeting.
Okay. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 1st, Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to consent item 32.
It's number 32.
Okay.
I don't hear any objections to that. All right. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 10th.
Agenda item number 18, can we push that to the committee since the Mayor Pro Tem is not present?
Okay, item
18.
18,
You'd like to move it to what?
to the
to
next
committee.
committee meeting.
Okay. That's
So
number
we'll add
18.
that to the consent for the next.
18 is consent, okay. All right. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 7th.
Did the addendum get put on consent? And let's just put on that consent.
Yeah.
That's the last one.
That's what I was-
Okay.
All right.
Addendum on the consent, okay.
All right. Seeing no other colleagues in the queue, Madam Clerk, can you get these on the screen for us so we could
Yeah, we'll have.
request a motion?
You got it straight? Okay. All right, yeah, we were having some difficulty here. Let me read them out, see if I can. Item number 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, no, 17, 17, 18,
It just, it's moved. It's consent.
and that's going to the next committee.
Okay.
And we'll go to 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 32, and 33 to the next committee.
Motion.
With our addendum item.
Motion to approve as just stated.
Second.
All right. Madam Clerk, I have a
Franum
motion.
and Mr. Mason.
That is correct. Franum and Mason have a motion and a second.
Hold on just a moment, let's see what the attorney. No, 33 to the next committee. Yeah, to the next committee. Okay, along with our addendum, thank you.
All right. Seeing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, if we clear, we're ready to vote.
That motion is unanimous.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We're going to go from top to bottom, please.
Okay. Ms. Walton, are you here for the alcohol petitioners? Yes, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. We have 3 items coming before you today. The first one is a new location, alcohol number 23-39. It's a request by Reginald M. McGee for a consumption on-premise liquor, beer and wine license to be used in connection with 211 Bar and Grill located at 4630 Mike Paget Highway. There will be dance at this location. This application has been approved by the Sheriff's Office and Planning and Development. Do we have any objectors to this alcohol petition?
Are there any objectors to this matter? Sir,
No objectors.
I don't know. Sir?
He's coming.
Oh,
This
he's the
applicant.
petitioner, he's the applicant?
Yes.
Okay. Any objectors to this matter? Seeing none, let's continue.
Full name and home address.
Name, my name, Reginald Miles McGee. Home address, 231 Girard, Georgia.
Thank you, Mr. McGee.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second, voting.
That motion carries with Ms. McKnight out.
What I leave was just.
Thank you so much. Ms. McGee, thank you for being here, sir. Madam, let's continue.
The next item is a new location, alcohol number 23-40. It's a request by Robert Robertson for a consumption on-premise wine license to be used in connection with that Flipping Egg number 3, located at 3321 Mike Paget Highway. This application has been approved by the Sheriff's Office and Planning and Development. Do we have any objectors to this alcohol petition?
Are there any objectors present to this petition? Seeing none, let's continue.
Mr. Robertson, just state your full name and home address.
Hi, my name is Robert Robertson, 2548 Cahaba Creek Court,
What town?
Evans, Georgia.
Thank you, sir.
Motion to approve.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, voting.
It's unanimous.
Mr. Robertson, thank you for being here, sir. All right, madam. Yep, let's continue.
Our last item is new location, alcohol number 23-41. It's a request by V. Wynn for consumption on-premise incidental wine license to be used in connection with Solar Nail Salon located at 3697 Windsor Spring Road. This application has been approved by the Sheriff's Office and Planning and Development. Do we have any objectors to this alcohol petition?
Are there any objectors present for this application? Seeing none, ma'am, if you don't mind, for the record, please state your name and address.
My name is Mai Nguyen and address 1012 Emerald Place, Evans, Georgia, 30809. I'm sorry.
Thank you so much.
Motion to approve.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
I think I heard a second from the fifth, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir.
All right, voting.
It's unanimous.
Ms. Wynn, thank you for being here. That concludes our petitions,
Takes
Madam
us to
Clerk.
item 16.
All right, item number 16.
Item 16 is a request for the Augusta Planning and Development Department to provide a status update on amending the current ordinance to allow accessory dwelling units. Commissioner Pulliam.
Commissioner Pulliam, this is your item. You wanna?
Thank you so much, Mayor Johnson.
Yes.
The motion is stated just as it says. We had started this process May 18th, and as I recall, just in conversations, we split the tiny homes from ADUs. And so my ask is that we move forward with updating or creating an ordinance to allow accessory dwelling units.
I see Director Delaney is present. You have something you want to add before I open it up to my colleagues on the commission?
I would like to say that one of the things that the Planning and Development Department is in support of accessory dwelling units in and of itself. We have concerns about doing it as a piecemeal. One of the things that we've asked for in the upcoming 2024 budget is a zoning ordinance update, because if we do it in one area, we have to think about the ripple effect in other areas. So in general, we've gotten more education last week. Me plus two of our other planners went to Savannah, so we've gotten more information. We'd like to tailor it towards Augusta, Richmond County, but we don't want to do it in a vacuum. We kind of would like to have this whole ordinance come together so that we can do it accurately. And one of the things is, if it is the desire of the commission to do something swiftly, then we would come back with an incremental approach. And that incremental approach would still have to be incorporated at a later date into the zoning ordinance. But we would just like to say, one, we do think it's a viable option, but two, we worry about rushing it and not doing the whole ordinance.
So Director Delaney, my question to that is, what would be a time frame that you would say this is our target time frame to get this accomplished?
Provided the commission funds the request to update the zoning ordinance, I would think that that would happen around November of 2024.
I see Commissioner Frantham in the queue.
Sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. And if it's agreed upon with my colleagues, I mean, I feel like that's fine. We don't want to rush it. And so we want to make sure that everything is in place and that planning has done their due diligence in every way, shape, or form so that this is a good addition or the changes are great changes to our current ordinance. So I am fine with that. So if it takes that amount of time, then it takes that amount of time. If you could provide an update as you go along, so let's say in about 4 months, come back to us with an update, that would be great.
I hope in that update I have funding for my plan. I'm asking several times, but yes, we would definitely like to incorporate that and get that done. Yes.
All right.
So do I need to change my motion to reflect continuing
Just a request, right?
a request?
So it's going to receive his information.
Okay. So receive his information and bring back to the commission in 4 months for discussion with updates.
All right.
Second.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Okay, that's Mr.
All right. Is there a motion?
And who was second?
I have a question.
Mr. Williams?
All right. Well, before we vote, the Commissioner from the 5th, you have the floor, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Laney, do you have funding or we need to give you funding?
I need you to give me money.
Okay, so how much money do you need?
I'm requesting, I think, it's in the budget, our 2024 budget total, but it's going to be between 150 and 200,000.
Just to do this?
It's not just this. It's going to be, we're going to unify it. We're going to have development code. We're going to look at all of the developments from our subdivision regulations, our zoning ordinance. All of these documents have been done in silos. And so you'll have some contradictions and we have some challenges that we have to overcome sometimes with those contradictions. So looking at all of the development regulations, subdivision regulations, and the zoning ordinance, those 3 documents would be covered in that cost, and it would also address accessory dwelling units.
Madam Administrator,
Yes, sir.
so where are we going to get 150 to 200 to give this?
As Director Delaney stated, she has made the request in her FY24 budget, which is slated to be presented to you on October 17th. And so if you would wait until that time for the proposed funding source to be identified.
Commissioner from the 5th, you good, sir?
No, but I'll be okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Chair recognizes the Commissioner from the 1st, Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Director Delaney, will these updates be in conjunction with what we've been talking about as far as our master plans and comprehensive plans?
The comprehensive plan is a separate document, but one of the activities identified in the comprehensive plan in 2018 was the update of the zoning ordinance, and that did not happen.
But I imagine, so the only reason I ask that, because I know we're talking about accessory dwelling units and tiny homes and a lot of different housing types. So will we be able to formulate these zoning ordinances to be able to allow for the eventual creation of these types of things?
Yes.
And that is in our master plan and comprehensive plan to a degree, right?
Let's not call it the master plan.
Okay. Okay.
But yes, comprehensive plan does call for us to reevaluate that. In addition to that, we have a housing crisis nationwide, so we need to be addressing that too. Our ordinance is not keeping pace with the type of development necessary in order to accommodate the type of industry we're attracting and the number of people that are moving to the area.
Good stuff. I like that, and thank you for that because it's long overdue, so that's good news.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome. So, Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second based on the restated motion by the commissioner from the second. Seeing no further colleagues in the queue or
Is that to receive it as information?
set to receive it as information.
Okay, we can
Yep.
just do that without objection.
Without objection? No objection?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
with me adding to it, coming back in 4 months with an update?
That was like a directive from the commission
Okay,
to
yes,
the
ma'am.
director.
Thank you.
All right.
We have it in the minutes.
All right. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's move on. I think that takes us to number,
Okay, we're at 19, 20, 21, 22.
so we're at 19.
Yes, sir.
All right. I just want to remind the public that this is an official place of business. This is going to be very sensitive conversations. I just ask that there be no outbursts. Just be respectful as we have these conversations. All right. All right, Madam Clerk.
Okay. Item number 19 is to approve renaming of one of the Augusta Recreation Athletic Ball Fields at the Diamond Lakes Regional Park, located at 4335 Windsor Spring Road, Hepzibah, Georgia, in honor of Fred Ansel Andy Cheek III.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The chair recognizes Commissioner from the 10th, Commissioner Guilfoyle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, a couple of months ago when we passed this unanimously on this floor, our hearts was in the right place. We felt that it was doing a good deed for this community, for a good deed for the people that's represented in agenda items number 19, 20, 21. I was reached out to by the Cheeks family to ask if a plaque could be put on Diamond Lakes Ballpark. And that was started because of Tom Wiedemeyer naming of the Walker Street. For 2 years, it never got this far. But in these past couple months, fortunately, it came to the agenda. And then we had the Mr. and Mr. McIntyre request as well. I didn't have any problems voting for all three of these. I was questioned. I got emails, Facebook messengers, phone calls, etc. I ended up calling Andy Cheek's brother, Robert, and I told him, I said, Robert, you had requested this, but I'm in a position where I'm fixing to pull it because it's causing such a division in our community. I really don't want to go down this path. He said, Wayne, do whatever's best for this community. He didn't say for me. He said for this community. And so my request is I'm not going to just pick one of the three. I'm just going to say my motion is to table all three of these indefinitely and not name anything. So that's my motion.
I'll second it.
All right, Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second to table all three. There's a couple other commissioners in the queue. I'm going to recognize Commissioner from the 5th, Commissioner Williams.
That's okay. We'll just vote on it.
All right.
We just vote on it.
All right, Madam Clerk, so there is...
Item 19, 20, and 21, table.
Yep. All right, Commissioner McKnight, I still see you in the queue. Would you like to add something?
Yes, I'm going to say something.
Also, Mr. Mayor, I want a voice vote.
Turn your mic on, if you don't mind. Thank you.
I want a roll call vote on these.
All right. The commissioner from the 5th has requested a roll call vote. I think we're good with that. All right, Commissioner from the 3rd, you have the floor, madam.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to make this crystal clear to everyone here in this audience today and on the TV news and on live stream. Piggybacking off of what District 10 Commissioner Guilfoyle said, you know, all three of these gentlemen are fine people, but right now we owe it to the taxpayers of Augusta, Georgia to do our jobs. They put us in these seats, and that is to take care of the city infrastructure, you know, failing roads, you know, we got potholes everywhere. We've got a lot of things that need to be taken care of, and we've spent weeks back and forth, hitting the ball back and forth, trying to, you know, talk about renaming. So making it clear that I will not be voting yes to any of these three. hate it, but this is the way it's going to be on my end. And I hope that everybody hears me and understands, and that this is a level playing field here, and that's where I stand. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. From the third, Madam Clerk, we have a substitute motion to table all three. Seeing no other colleagues in the queue, it's been requested that we have a roll call vote.
Yes, sir. Wait, there's only one vote.
There's only one.
Only one motion.
Only one motion, I'm sorry.
Okay.
All right. It's been a motion to table all three, correct?
Well, they amended the motion to
Okay.
add the other two
Point of clarity,
from the
Mr. Mayor.
19.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it was
All right.
added.
It was added,
amended.
all right. Chair recognizes the commissioner from the first. I see Sean in the queue, but I
Yes,
think
sir.
you're waiting.
So just a point of clarity, we're voting to table all three of these. If that motion fails, would there still be an opportunity to vote on them individually?
Or you make another motion.
Okay, just making sure we're not.
You can make another motion after
Yeah,
this.
but we go to 19.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. The motion is to table items 19, 20, and 21. Indefinitely.
All right.
That means they don't come up again.
Hold on.
Are we ready?
All right, we're ready to vote, Madam Clerk. Roll
Mr.
call.
Franham.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Guilfoyle.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Johnson.
No, ma'am.
Mr. Lewis.
No, ma'am.
Mr. Mason.
No, Madam Clerk.
Ms. McKnight.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Pulliam.
No, ma'am.
Ms. Scott.
No, ma'am.
Mr. Bobby Williams.
No, ma'am.
Okay, that motion fails 3-6.
All right. So, Madam Clerk, I think we're going to move on. Unless you want to move, he's amended the motion. 19. So do you want to, Commissioner from the 10th, do you want to address the motion as stated? Do you want, or do you want to move on to number 20? All right, Madam Clerk, we're moving on to agenda item number 20.
And, no,
22. No,
no.
you gotta,
We
you gotta
moved
go
to
20.
20.
You gotta go to 20. We gotta go 20 because if the motion failed, we gotta address all three.
I have asked companion items. Mayor.
No,
That's not what was requested.
no, that's not what he was saying. And
When I pulled
Mr.
19,
Johnson,
20, 21.
stop. We need to stop playing games. We need to go to
Okay.
Mr. McIntyre.
Let me call a parliamentarian in there.
Well, I'll ask the-
Turner Brown, provide clarity, please.
There was one motion called, motion number 19. The maker of the motion for 19 also motioned to include 20 and 21. That motion failed. The only matter that, no matter actually is addressed. There's been one vote officially on 19. If either member of the commission wish to address 19, it is still available, but absolutely 20 and 21 are available for action.
And that's why I went back to Commissioner Guilfoyle. Do you want to continue to address 19, and would you like to move forward to number 20? Well, you may not have that option. You're right, Commissioner, from the first, we may have to vote on it. We got to vote on 19. So, Madam Clerk, can you state number 19 is,
Okay.
for the record, please?
Item 19 is to approve renaming of one of the Augusta Recreation Athletic Ball Fields at Diamond Lakes Regional Park, located at 4335 Windsor Spring Road, Hepzibah, Georgia, in honor of Fred Ansel Andy Cheek III.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I want to request roll call vote.
Yes, sir. There's been a request for another roll call vote, and I see Commissioner from the 4th is in the queue before you, Commissioner Mason.
No, I'm in the queue too.
You're in the queue.
Ready to roll.
All right. All right. Seeing no objection, Madam
I
Clerk.
need to, on the motion, that Mr. Guilfoyle, and who seconded that? You did? Okay.
So what?
Number 19.
It's 19.
19.
I just read number 19, and Mr. Guilfoyle said he moved Ms. McKnight second. It's just 19. Okay.
All right.
All right. Mr. Franham.
Clarity, what's the motion?
It's item number
Yes, as
19
stated.
is to approve renaming one of the Augusta Recreation Athletic Ball Fields at Diamond Lake Regional Park located at 4335 Windsor Spring Road, Hepzibah, Georgia, in honor of Fred Ansel Andy Cheek III.
No, ma'am.
Mr. Guilfoyle. Mr. Johnson.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mason.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. McKnight.
No, ma'am.
Ms. Pulliam.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Scott.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Bobby Williams.
Yes, ma'am.
That motion carries 6-3.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's move on to item 20.
Item 20 is a motion to approve the renaming of Augusta Riverwalk Park to the name of Edward M. McIntyre Senior Riverwalk Park and the Augusta 8th Street Plaza to Edward M. McIntyre Senior Square at 8th Street, and placing his name on the entrance of the 8th Street Buckhead Archway.
All right, the chair recognizes Commissioner from the 5th, Commissioner Williams.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, there's a motion to approve from the Commissioner from the 5th and an approval by Commissioner Lewis from the 6th. Commissioner Johnson, I see you in the queue, sir. Are you?
Just ready to vote.
You ready to vote? Commissioner Mason?
Same thing. Roll.
Ready to vote? All right. There's been a request for a roll call. I don't see anybody objecting. Madam Clerk, we're voting.
Okay. Mr. Franham?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Guilfoyle? Mr. Johnson?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mason?
Yes, Madam Clerk.
Ms. McKnight?
No, ma'am.
Ms. Pulliam?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Scott?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Bobby Williams?
Yes, ma'am.
That motion carries 6-3.
All right, Madam Clerk. Let's continue with the next item.
Next item is item number 21. Motion to approve the renaming of the Augusta Utilities Engineering Building located at 425 Walker Street, Augusta, Georgia, in honor of former Utilities Director Thomas D. Wiedmeyer, P.E.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, Commissioner from the 5th is the motion, seconded by Commissioner from the 6th, Commissioner Lewis. A lot of colleagues in the queue, but are we requesting another roll call vote?
Roll call.
All right, there's another request for a roll call vote.
Want to hear you.
Madam Clerk, let's vote.
Okay. Mr. Franham.
No, ma'am.
Mr. Guilfoyle. Mr. Johnson.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mason.
Yes, Madam Clerk.
Ms. McKnight. Ms. Pulliam.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Scott.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Bobby Williams.
Yes, ma'am.
That motion carries 6-3.
Thank you so much, Madam Clerk. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to give you a few minutes to clear out of the chamber. Thank you for being here today. All right, where's Attorney Brown at? Okay. Madam Clerk, we're going to call this meeting back to order. Let's continue forward. You might turn off, Madam Clerk.
Yeah.
Now you're back on. All right.
You got a quorum.
Back on, folks.
Item number 22, motion to approve collaboration between Augusta, Georgia and the City of Savannah and the Chatham-Savannah Authority for the Homeless to launch a public awareness campaign, Give Change That Counts, and to authorize the mayor to execute all appropriate documents.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 7th, Commissioner Fenton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to see this come back in 2 weeks because we have another panhandling ordinance committee meeting on October 11th, and there's some nonprofits that I was told are not a part of this, Salvation Army being one of them. And that's concerning. I wasn't here last week, but I would hope that there's no issue to push this through. When we at the last workshop we said every nonprofit will be in attendance on October 11th. So I'm not sure why we want to push this so quickly when we have another task force next week on the 11th. So I'd make a motion to bring this back in 2 weeks.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I have a few other colleagues in the queue. Commissioner from the 10th, Commissioner Guilfoyle, the floor is yours, sir. You're out. Commissioner Scott, you had a question? Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 9th.
Interim Administrator, who do we have listed now as nonprofit in this motion?
We have several nonprofits listed, but specifically the Salvation Army is on the list, as the gentleman that represents the Salvation Army was present during the original meeting in which we were discussing this idea in its infancy stage. So it's shocking to hear that he says that he wasn't contacted because he was sitting next to me. But nonetheless, I'll be more than happy to provide the commission with a full listing of all of the nonprofits that have stated that they are interested in participating.
All right, so Madam Clerk, there's been a motion to move this back 2 weeks with the proper motion and second it. Let's vote. Move 2 weeks.
Ms. Scott, okay. Mr. Bobby? It's unanimous.
All right, motion carries. All right, let's move forward, Madam Clerk.
Takes us to item number 23, presentation by Mr. Ming F. Lin regarding demolition of his driveway located at 3653 Riceboro Road.
Good day, Mr. Ling. If you don't mind, sir, please come to the podium right here, and for the record, please state your name and address.
My name is Ming Lin. I live at 3519 Turnberry Lane, Monmouth, Georgia.
All right, do you have any documents for this body? Do you have any handouts?
Yes, I presented through.
We're going to put the map on the screen, and Mr.
Okay.
John Ushery is here representing engineering if he needs.
All right, you got it. All right, Mr. Ling, you're going to have about 5 minutes here when we get this drawing up.
Okay.
minutes,
This is a
sir.
clear-cut issue, but I tried to go through the proper channel and to no avail. So I'm, here presenting to the honorable commissions and ask the commission to uphold, the proper solution for it. Years ago, when Riceboro was widening, as you can see on the picture, the midsection is the old Riceboro Road right-of-way, but the widening cut it short and turned it into a cul-de-sac. And then the bottom part, that curvature, that's the new Riceboro Road. The highlight yellow part is the parcel that I own, is 3653 Riceboro Road. And when this widening was in planning and negotiation and right-of-way buyout was going, we had communicated with DOT and the city of Augusta that the new design would put us away from Riceboro Road, where we originally had the proper frontage on the Riceboro Road fully. But this affected us, and we become way, good distance away, and then only on the left-hand side, which is the west side, are we close enough to have that odd situation to share a double wide driveway with the neighbor. So in negotiation, the DOT and us and the city come to an agreement of a way of compensating me, and that is to extend that driveway out of the cul-de-sac, and it become a private drive to serve my neighbor to the east, and then extend it to serve my parcel as well, so that whatever the development goes there, we're able to still have access to the old Wrightsboro Road. So that was the agreement, 3 ways between DOT, City of Augusta, and myself. And it was designed as such. And subsequently, it was built as such. So it seems like everything was fine. But a few years later, one day, because there's nothing there, we don't live there. It's just an investment property. And one day I went over there and I found the section that I highlighted pink. That section was completely demolished. And so I have started inquire and went to the engineering department of City of Augusta. And the director, Mr. Malik, he admitted that he sent people there to demolish that driveway. And I asked him, why did he do that? That was for a purpose. And he says the neighbor to the east has been complaining that some people from, there is a commercial development to the east side of the picture. It's called Peanut Laundry. And they say sometimes somebody would try to cheat and cut through that private drive. And so they knock it out. I say, but that driveway isn't just for that, that neighbor, but it's for myself, and it's with a good purpose. How can you just come around and demolish it? You didn't even talk to me and nothing, and that is totally improper. So Mr. Malik, long story short, says, well, I guess what can we do? I say, well, you can put it back. He said, okay, that's one option. And then he says, he got a proposal. He says, maybe another solution for me to think about. He says, now the two Wrightsboro Road created an additional triangle piece of land in front of us. And it's just nothing but a useless land with the grass for the city to cut. And he says, what if we say we deed it to you? Would that be the same? I say, well, it sounds like it's got a merit because it'll put me back onto the full frontage with the new Wrightsboro Road again. So I say, well, okay, it doesn't matter whichever way. Either you build back the driveway or you say you want to do that, deed it, that'd be fine with me too. I said the only thing I found was that, there's a little ditch starting from my in front of me, and it was flat. And that area really don't need a ditch. That just came from the old Wrightsboro Road. And I say, if you deeded the front to me and got a ditch in between, it really doesn't do me any good. I say, since you as an engineer, do you see really any need for that portion? He said, no, you're right. that's not really the area needed to have the ditch. So he says he'll work on it. And long story short, 3.5 years passed. And he never get back to me. And I've been calling him. And then a few times I had to go over there. And then he would say, oh, give me more time. I've been very busy. So I understand. And I try to be patient. But like I say, 3.5 years passed. And towards the end, this whole year, he won't even answer my call anymore. And if I go over there, sit there, wait for him, he never come out and see me. So I don't know what to do anymore. I mean, I don't like to jump the chain of command.
Thank you, Mr. Lynn. We're going to have Mr. Ursher to come up to answer any questions that the commission may have, but thank you. All right. While you're there, I'm going to go ahead and start addressing, go through the queue. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 7.
Mr. Lynn, you have a primary driveway, correct?
Well, right now, we got it awkward. You see, if somebody
Yes
comes
or
in.
no?
Yes, we do.
Okay. And you're pushing for a second
But that
access
was,
driveway.
I'm sorry, but that was negotiated as part of the settlement because they changed my overall situation. I had a full
Do you have
frontage.
legal documentation on that settlement?
Actually, the administrator, the interim administrator, Miss Ducey, Dowse, and also mainly Mr. Jackson, the assistant administrator, has do the full investigation, and he ended up also spoke to the Department of Transportation, and Department of Transportation have fully acknowledged that this whole thing was out of the negotiation, part of the compensation, and it was designed by all three parties, and it was built as such. He confirmed all that.
Okay, I'm going to go back to you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 4th, Commissioner Mason.
Oh. Well, basically, yeah, I really kind of want to hear from the administrator because I don't know if I heard the correct answer as to whether there's any legal documentation corroborating this agreement that you said that has been made. So that would be a question that I would have of the administrator through her investigation. If we could hear from her at this point, that would be great, Mr. Mayor.
Madam Administrator, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. Commissioners, as Mr. Lynn has stated, yes, he has been in contact with my office, myself, as well as Deputy Administrator Jackson, probably well into this past summer. And yes, we have contacted Georgia Department of Transportation to inquire concerning his comments regarding this driveway and what has happened based upon his recollection of the events. No, we have not received any supporting documentation which substantiate what Mr. Lynn has stated. This information was communicated to Mr. Lynn as without any formal documentation regarding any compensation that Mr. Lynn would have received as a result of whatever the construction agreements were at that time, as well as including any construction agreement documents that would have been acknowledged by Mr. Lynn. None of those documents have been received by my office. And as communicated to Mr. Lynn at that point, without documentation, there were no additional pathways that I could take, hence the reason why Mr. Lynn is before you today.
Thank you, Madam Administrator. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 5th, Commissioner Williams.
Well, Mr. Lynn, you trying to get a second driveway. Is that what we're trying to do?
No, we got it already for a couple years.
Oh, you have
and
it
it was
already?
already built.
It's already built.
And we've been using it.
Okay,
and then,
so I'm trying to be clear about what you want. What, you just want compensation for
no,
it?
we want it built back because it was already built for me. What's the reason Mr. Malik, Dr. Malik, ordered to destroy something that was built, designed by DOT? Now, it's talking about legal evidence. This is about as strong of a legal evidence it can be because I could not make DOT put that design into the design.
Okay, so I'm a little mixed up here. So what I'd like, and this is just my suggestion, I see some people pointing to Mr. Ursher. You got something you want to say with that? Because what I'm about to suggest is that Dr. Malik and the administrator need to meet with Mr. Lynn to see what can come out of this. I don't think we should try to make a decision on this today.
Yeah, I don't think it's a question.
May the administrator say something, or what do you think?
Commissioner, I have met with Mr. Lynn on multiple occasions, and I have exhausted all options in regards to what Mr. Lynn has stated. The exact documentation, the map that he has before you is the identical mapping that I have received from the Georgia Department of Transportation. And so to speak to what was versus what is, I have no additional recourse.
And that's why I said, Dr. Malik, have you spoken to Dr. Malik about it?
I have spoken with Dr. Malik, as well as his deputy director is present today with his comments as well. So if Deputy Director or Assistant Director John Ushery can speak directly to what was stated to him to present to the commission, I think that that may be of value as well.
Right, because otherwise I think our hands are tied. But Mr. Ushery, please.
Mr. Ushery, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Everything that was stated by the interim director is correct. She put it very well, so there's not a whole lot I have to add. One thing I would like to add is the plan you're looking at up on the screen is not, it's a construction plan. It's not a legal document for determining property lines and boundaries, et cetera. That would be a plat or a record of survey or one of those types of documents. So the property owner has mentioned this agreement between the city and the state and himself, but as, in the several years that the engineering department has been working on this, we have not been able to obtain that agreement in any sort of written fashion. So it may exist, it may not, but at this point we have not been able to find it. So without that legal document, his primary access was relocated to the new realigned Wrightsboro Road at the yellow highlighted driveway that you see there, and that, as far as we know, and until we know something different, as far as we know, that is his primary access for his residence, not the cul-de-sac. The whole point of cul-de-sacing the road was to prevent the traffic. That cul-de-sac connects to another local street, farther to the east and goes up into some homes. And the whole purpose of that cul-de-sac was to prevent traffic from going through there, not to have a road through there that would allow the public to travel on. That's not its purpose.
All right.
May I add something?
Oh, sir, just a minute. I got a few other colleagues in the queue. I'll give you another minute in a second. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 10th. Commissioner Gifford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. John, thank you, as well as the administrator. Mr. Lynn.
Yes, sir.
Augusta Richmond County works hand in hand with GDOT, Georgia Department of Transportation. GDOT is the one who's actually, per se, is in control. What they do on their drawings is basically, with a few exceptions, is what they put on the ground. Any property that they acquire, they pay for. They had paid you for some of your property, acquire.
Well, if we are talking about renegotiating of the settlement, which is not fair, because if this is not acceptable back then, why did the city of Augusta did not object, and then we'll come up with other ways of compensating me for altering my situation? Because all that was going on at that time. Now, I wanted to clear some misunderstanding there. That wasn't proposed to be built. That was built. 5-6 years ago, it was built, and we were able to use it. And then it was a couple years later, somebody come, and now we know it's the city engineering department, and come and demolish it. Now that actually alter and change the entire settlement. And I come here to approach to the commissioner because you all representing the people. Fair is fair. You can feel my pain. If you are in my shoes, and a widening comes and altering and have a consequential damage to your property.
All right, Mr. Lynn, out of all due respect, you were holding up another document that you wanted to present as evidence. Is there something you need to show us before we move on?
Yeah,
or is it the same thing we have right here?
Actually, I don't know whether do you have this? I don't know if you.
So we have that. So that's what we have.
Oh,
that's what we're seeing.
You have that. Okay.
Is that the only thing that you were trying to show us before we move on?
Right. Other than that, Mr. Jackson.
Okay.
Now I have all my meeting was with Mr. Jackson. I only had meeting with Ms. Stiles one time. Okay, and Mr. Jackson is the one continue and keep me informed, and I have been communicating with him. He is the one, and we actually had a three-way talk with the DOT, and the agent over there confirmed everything. That is all true, and it was built. And it was all from that.
Well, sir, you may need to get that DOT representative to reach out to the city of Augusta on your behalf. If you got that confirmation from the Department of Transportation, you may need to get that presented to us. All right. Now, there's a colleague to my right that's wanted to make a motion to receive as information.
Right.
Receive it as information.
Second.
Right. There's a motion and there's a second. All right. We need to vote on that, Madam Clerk. Without objection. Without objection. Anybody objection? We don't need to vote. All right. So there's no one. Mr. Lane, the only thing I can tell you is that the DOT told you that you perhaps need to go back through them to re-engage us. All right. So thank you for being here.
I'm really disappointed. You're
Yes, sir.
all representing the people.
Yes, sir.
And nobody's above the law.
Thank you so much, sir. Listen, no one's above the law, but we've given you your due time to discuss this matter. Bring back before us when you get information from the DOT that substantiates your claim. Thank you for being here. Madam Clerk,
Okay.
let's continue.
Receive as information without objection. Okay, that takes us to item number 30. It's the motion to approve funding to replace irrigation system for the entire length of Henry Street.
All right, that's requested by the commission from the 3rd, Commissioner Catherine Smith.
Okay, yes, I know we've had this one on the agenda for quite some time. But anyway, I'm going to have Mr. Director McDowell come up. I believe he and I spoke before the meeting, and I feel like we might have something worked out here. Director McDowell, can you and I discussed talking about Henry Street for quite some time with the irrigation. Can you possibly, or may you give just a brief history on the irrigation, and then we can go from there? Of what is being asked by residents, constituents.
Yes, Madam Commissioner. So Henry Street has been one of those areas where Parks and Recreation had to maintain the medium. And the neighborhood over on Henry Street has asked, I think this dates back probably about 18 years ago, they have been asking for an upgrade to the irrigation system that they have currently. There's been a lot of work over the years repairing that system, and now they want to have that system replaced. I had several conversations with Mr. Keith Henry, who actually lives on that street, who has been instrumental in bringing these conversations forward. Also met with Commissioner McKnight over there at the site several times to discuss some options that we could possibly have. Parks and Recreation was allocated $3 million in SPLOST 8 for irrigation. And I shared with Commissioner McKnight that I couldn't put necessarily Henry Street before other projects that we needed in terms of irrigation. So we did get some cost estimates just to see what that number would look like to replace that system over there. But our priority would be Diamond Lakes, Eisenhower, and then a few other projects that we have in the pipeline to move forward. But if we're able to recapture some of those funds and the tune of about $200,000 or $300,000, that we will bring that before this body to consider adding irrigation to that particular area. I will say Mr. Henry has been before the commission to speak on this probably about 6 or 7 years ago. And he had spoken at that time with the representative in District 3 about putting some funds in Parks and Recreation for irrigation. And so they've been adamant about us replacing that system. I do want to say they have a system, it's just an antiquated system that needs to be upgraded. But at this time, we don't necessarily have the funds until we move forward on some of these other projects that are more pressing as it relates to our Parks and Recreation infrastructure. But we definitely would consider this particular area. We've also looked at possibly just doing an island on Henry Street rather than doing the entire Henry Street, just to give us some leverage in considering the cost of doing a project of this magnitude And so we've had those discussions, and so Commissioner Knight put this on the agenda to bring before this body because, again, having to get the approval from her colleagues will be helpful for us in making these decisions moving forward as to which direction that you all want us to go.
All right, thank you.
May I say something? Henry Street is got, going on one side, you got District 1, and then on the other side, it's District 3. So I'm working with both sides here, but I am willing to negotiate here and say that, no, we don't need to do the entire length. We do need to concentrate on putting funding to Diamond Lakes and to Eisenhower and other places. But if we could get funding or get some numbers together for the first portion, there's 3 sections of Henry Street split from Fleming to Montesana. The next one's Montesana to Highland, and then from Highland to right there, Peachtree. So there is 3 sections divided. What I was thinking, just to be able to do something here for the residents there, is to propose doing one section, allocating some SPLOST funds, a little bit of SPLOST funds, to do that first section from Fleming to Montesana. And you and I discussed that last week, and that we might can get some numbers put together. Is that where we still stand?
Right. We have some early cost estimates, but again, because of the price tag, it has to be bidded out.
Okay.
And that could change the number slightly, but we do have some early cost estimates of what that would look like to do one island versus doing all 3 islands.
Yeah. If just roundabout figure, what would you think, since you do know about this, and I know former Commissioner Mary Davis was trying to work with this too. What a roundabout figure would you say just that section, that first section would probably run us?
It's the estimates we have are around 50 to 75,000 per island. So anywhere between 50 and 75. Again, we do have to bid it out, so that could slightly increase the numbers or decrease the number. We don't know. We just got estimates based on some of the landscape firms that do this particular work. We asked them to give us some rough numbers, but of course it has to be bidded out, and once the bids come in, we'll be in a better position to give you real numbers versus estimates.
Okay. Well, I'd like to see if we can do that if possible, and hope to get my colleagues to support this, since it is in two different districts here. So thank you, Mr. McDowell, Director McDowell. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner from the 3rd. Chair recognizes Commissioner Frampton from the 7th.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is, why is Director McDowell that's at the table and not engineering? I mean, why is engineering not sitting here talking to us about sprinkler heads and that sort of thing?
Well, that's a great question. But again, this is one of those areas where engineering did take over just the grass cutting, and we're still responsible for those other ancillary items as it relates to maintain these particular areas.
Okay. Well, as being on here over 8 years, I've heard this conversation before about this, and I can't remember the gentleman's name that came forward.
Mr. Keith Henry.
Yeah. I do agree that, we don't have the funds to do it all, but I do hope that we can at least start something. I don't know what that most pressing need is. Is that you said the system, it doesn't even currently work at all now, or is it? It
currently works. We do a lot of repair to that particular system just to keep it functioning. So it is due for an upgrade. And then if we go back with an entire new system, the entire structure of that will be different. Currently, you have 2 lines that run linear to the street. We think about putting a singer down the middle of that particular medium all the way down, which will be probably more germane to systems that are in place today. So, like I said, it's a very old and antiquated system that needs to be upgraded. But again, to your point, we could possibly do something if we can't do the entire street over at that particular area.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 5th, Commissioner Williams.
Well, I kind of had the same question as Mr. Franham here about recreation being involved. I still don't understand, why you guys are involved with doing that. I don't know. So you talked about money, and you said you don't have the monies to do it all, and I heard something about splashed. So where does splash come in?
So Parks and Recreation was allocated $3 million, and the line item says irrigation. So we would pull it from that particular line item if that's the will of the body.
But I'm thinking, Ms. Bonner, they're messing with me over here. But that's really parks, isn't it? Isn't that parks and the water and the grass at the baseball parks and what have you?
Absolutely.
They're not talking about,
that was the point I was.
Because I want some street irrigation too. I got plenty of places. I'm just a little confused about where we're trying to get the money and what we're trying to get the money for.
The irrigation.
And you know, you're talking about parks and recreation. I'm thinking about Diamond Lakes and Brigham and other parks like that. I don't know.
Right, so to that point, Commissioner, when we're clear about it, and that was our conversation with Commissioner McKnight, is Diamond Lakes, Eisenhower, they're all our priorities. So those go first, and then some of these other developments that we have already out in terms of you all approved the conceptual, those take precedent. If we have some residual funds remaining, then this could possibly be an area, but I would caution us in saying we would have enough to do the entire street as the community asked for, but we may can do a portion of the street.
You don't think this would be more of an engineering situation?
I would love for it to be an engineering matter, but once we bidded it out, the only thing the engineer came back with were monies to cut the mediums, but not necessarily do those other duties and responsibility as it relates to these mediums.
Yeah, and we really need to talk about your duties and responsibilities because, I mean, if we took all this other stuff from you, I mean, what are you?
I'll come back to you.
I'm not understanding.
Okay.
I'll cut it there. I'm not understanding. Okay.
All right. The person who put this motion forth, Commissioner McKnight, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that,
I'm coming to you.
real quickly, that I know that Director McDowell and I have been talking about this since 2021. January, it was one of the first obligation, well, not obligation, but something that I really wanted to see done during my term here. And you know what, I forget the entire street, okay? It's not gonna happen. But a tad bit of money, we gotta distribute irrigation money throughout the county. And I understand it can't be in one spot, but we also have to share a little bit of it too. And if we're talking about 75,000 for that section, there's a way we've got to be able to find that. We got to distribute this throughout Augusta. I realize it, but I'm just trying to get a little bit here. Okay?
All right, thank
and
you.
we have discussed this before, haven't we, since the beginning? Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner McKnight. Administrator Dowse.
Commissioner McKnight, I wanted to make certain that we recall what Director McDowell has stated in that it would still require a bid, which may increase the cost. So while $75,000 was his estimated figure, it very well may cost a little bit more. But if this is the direction of the body, then after it is bid, after he completes a majority of the other projects that were already slated in SPLOST, then the commission could reallocate that funding.
All right, thank you, Madam Administrator. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 10th, Commissioner Guilfoyle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know that this is affects four of us up here, Commissioner Johnson, Ms. Scott, Ms. McKnight, as well as myself. I think what we need to do is send this out for RFP, just to get a total cost, and then we'll break it up into three parts and do it in phases. I know that we have passed money, voted on money up here without having no resources where it's going to come from. At least Ms. McKnight is doing it in a correct way. Let's see what it costs. So my motion is to move forward with RFP
I'm going to
for the
second
funding of
that.
Henry Street or the irrigation.
Second that one.
There's a motion from the commissioner from the 10th. I'm going to him. And a second from the commissioner from the 3rd. Chair recognizes the commissioner from the 4th and Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I certainly am not opposed to anything being done on Henry Street, but what I would be opposed to is just a haphazard plan to use monies that's been designated for Parks and Recreation for those purposes. I still have not heard a legitimate reason, and I'll emphasize legitimate reason, as to why Parks and Recreation would be involved in this particular venture. And I'm somewhat surprised, maybe the interim administrator didn't have anything to do with this, but I'm sure there's got to be some other solution or potential solution to this issue. I don't think at this particular point that it's a commission directive to do anything at this particular point, not knowing exactly what our other priorities, well, we know what they are, but what it would cost for those things to be done, and that's the reason why it was designated for. Again, not saying that I'm opposed to anything happening on Henry Street, because I'm not opposed to it, but I think that there ought to be a proper funding source and a proper directorate that handles this particular situation, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner McKnight, you still in the queue, or you good?
I'm just going to say, following what District 4 Commissioner Mason said, regardless, and just like Administrator Dow said, we have to get a bid on it. Can we not go ahead and do that and then figure out, meanwhile, where this funding is going to come? We do need to get the bid regardless. Can we not do that and go ahead and try to motion what I seconded the motion today behind?
We're getting ready to vote on it. So
All
there's a
right.
motion and a second for that.
Thank you.
Seeing no colleagues in the queue, we're ready to vote, Madam Clerk.
Can we restate the motion, please?
Madam Clerk,
There's a
if
lot
you don't mind.
of talking here.
The motion is to move forward with an RFP for the
Just to get a
irrigation
price.
system for, well, they didn't determine whether they were going to section it off or they were going to do the entire street. I don't know if the
All right,
RFP, it wasn't clear.
So you need to clarify your motion, please.
Madam Clerk, it's for the entire street. It's done in
Okay.
3 phases anyway,
Okay.
3 islands.
Okay,
It'll just give us an idea of what we need a plan for. That's all it is.
okay.
So this is not a motion for funding, just to get a motion for pricing. Just pricing. All right.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
clarity,
ma'am.
please.
Commissioner from the ninth.
This is a motion to have a RFP done,
Just to see how
but
much. Not for the work.
not for Henry Street, the entire length of
Yeah,
Henry Street.
the-
We want
it
to
is.
see.
That's what he's
How
saying.
we, that's not how we even do, Ms.
All right.
Williams,
Administrator Dowse.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. Historically, our current procedures dictate, 1, the need, and then 2, the funding source. In this particular case, while the need has been dictated, the funding source still has not been completely identified. Although Parks has $3 million set aside in their budget for SPLOST line item irrigation, those projects, to my understanding, have already been allocated to other projects. If there is funding remaining after those projects have been satisfied, then that will allow us to set a budget for how we can move forward with an RFP or an RFQ, some type of procurement option at that time. If you're interested in estimates for a cost, we could possibly obtain that through other measures.
That's all I'm asking.
Commissioner from the 10th, are you good with that? Are you good with other measures? So do you want to rescind that motion?
Yeah.
All right. So do we just want to receive this as information and proceed with the Madam Administrator looking at getting cost estimates? Is that okay?
Yeah, as long as we got our numbers, we'll buy it.
All right, without objection? All right, there's no objection to that, Madam Clerk. All right, how many more items? I think we got one more game, one more.
Item 31 is to consider a request from Mr. Aaron Matthews regarding a property tax abatement for property located adjacent to Matthews Motors at 1365 Gordon Highway.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. I see you in the crowd as you're walking forward. Come on forward. I want to thank you for starting that demolition project. I think the commissioner from the first is giving you credit of cleaning the corner up. If you don't mind, please state your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson and Commissioners. My name is Aaron Matthews. I live at 399 Boy Scout Road, Augusta, Georgia.
All right. I see a couple of colleagues in the queue. Would you like to add anything before I engage our colleagues? Is there any? I know you have this request. Is there anything you want to add before I?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Yeah, this is my first commission meeting, so it's been very eye-opening. Yeah, in the least. Yes. No. We moved into the property next door. My family owns Matthews Motors. Grew up in Hepzibah, Georgia. We drove past this property every day on the way to work. My father started our business. We've been paying property taxes in this county since '91 on the business level, and all the way back since I was born in the personal level. My father acquired the property that we currently operate in 2018, and we have since grown this business and in that time frame, we also met with the old hotel property next door owner and expressed our interest to purchase this property if anything ever came about. Of course, we made an offer that he didn't accept, and then back in 2022, he finally accepted our offer to purchase, and with the intent of having this hotel was already condemned for several years. We had intended to demolish it after feasibility studies proved that it could not be repurposed. And one of our goals and my dad's goals was to, help do our part as business owners in the city to beautify the city, take pride in it. And with this being at the intersection of Molly Pond Road and Gordon Highway, it is one of the first things people see when you drive into the city from the airport. So I would really appreciate assistance in the property tax abatement, since it costs roughly 40 times that to demolish it for this year, and I appreciate you hearing me out.
All right, when you say 40 times, can you put a number to it? Do you have a number? Can you put a number to how much have you invested in buying the property and demolishing
We
the
purchased
structure?
the property for $800,000, and it's now costing $400,000 to demolish.
All right, it's about 1.2 million. All right.
So, is the tax assessor here? My question.
Yeah.
We do have a representative from the tax assessor's office present to
All right,
speak
you
to
got-
this matter.
All right, come on up, sir. I see some colleagues in the queue. You want to wait for us to hear from the tax assessor first? All right, the floor is yours, sir.
All right. Well, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioners. I'll just give you the facts that we have on the property. Let y'all take it from there. What we have is a purchase of $800,000, as Mr. Matthews claimed. As it stood January 1 with the old hotel on it is what that price was paid for. That is common. That is not unusual. We did some looking into in the city of Augusta. There's approximately between 270 and 300 demo permits annually. So people are buying properties with intent to get rid of these buildings and then either build back new or, use it as land for growing or expanding their businesses. It was under a appeal as well for the value. That appeal was withdrawn and agreed upon on the $800,000 purchase price. And that's kind of where we stand with it at this point. So, as far as being taxed on the $800,000 for this year, that's consistent and fair with what we do with other taxpayers. And I'll leave it in the commission's hands from there, obviously, but we found it, fair and consistent. And for next year, if that building's gone, which we know it will be, I've seen the demo going on myself, driving past it. We will revalue that property as it stands January 1 again for 2024.
Thank you, sir. Chair recognizes the commissioner from the 7th. Commissioner
Thank you, Mr.
Freeman.
Mayor. Sir, based on what you just said, if we were to do this, we would be setting a precedent. Is that true, fair and accurate?
I think that may be for your legal counsel to answer, but, you know, I just know there are many properties that this occurs to.
And you mentioned 270, 300 properties that possibly, I mean, we're opening ourselves up, but doing this and then doing it again and again and again and again. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Chair recognizes the Commissioner from the 1st, Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know that the commission doesn't have, from what I understand, and I could be wrong, but the commission doesn't have the full authority to just wipe it clean, because I know that, and especially for for-profit businesses, I know that in the past we've done some help. We worked with Garden City Rescue Mission and a few others to where they would pay their taxes, and then the city would then turn around and refund them. That could be an option, but as far as just a full-out abatement for a private entity, I don't think that that we should open up that door to do that. However, I don't think that the commission will have an issue. Well, I can't speak for the commission. How about I say this? I think that being that this is an important corridor, and like I said on Facebook, that's our welcome mat. It's one of our most important welcome mats. I think that being that y'all have bought the property, you were able to demolish it. You're going to help us in a sense. Maybe we could consider, refunding the taxes once you pay them. But as far as a full, just straight out wipe and clean, I don't think that we'll be able to do that as for a for-profit business. But certainly there's other measures we can take to help you. But from the commission, thank you, really, because that is one of our most important intersections. And I'll say it again, we're moving a step closer to making sure that area gets cleaned up. So thank you for what you're doing over there.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. And I would appreciate any kind of refund that we could get.
All right. Chair recognizes the Commissioner from the 10th, Commissioner Guilfoyle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Johnson, for speaking on that. When he was discussing refund, he was discussing once you pay your taxes, the body has the authority to refund the taxes back to you. Now, with that being a major corridor, what Commissioner Johnson was speaking about, I was discussing this with the administrator, and I had some discussion with the tax assessor's office as well once I got into this chambers. We spend on the average, I believe it's $7,700 per house to demo, and we spend a lot of money demoing houses that's not in the main corridor. Your building there that you demoing is actually doing the city a favor. It keeps the unwanted from finding hiding places, keep the drugs, everything else out of that corridor, which we still have an issue across the street, and hopefully we get that to get resolved here soon. But the amount that you're asking for is not much more than what we do a demo of houses for. So I would say to refund them the taxes that he's paid in for this year, because next year is just a raw piece of land, flat piece of dirt. The value, as what Brian was saying, that they paid for the building and the land, but they doing the city a favor by demoing the building. The land value, if you look at Brian, you could answer this. Once that building is off, the land value, you already have it on a separate line account on your sheet. What does that drop to?
I think the current land valuation out in that area is about $123,000. That is without revaluation of land that's probably needed based on the sales out there as well, though.
So it's going to drop considerably for next year for this gentleman anyway. So my motion would be to refund his taxes on this. Would that be correct, Madam Administrator, to word it?
Commissioner Guilfoyle, will you please restate your comment?
To refund his taxes once he's paid on this parcel of land.
What's the term, Commissioner Guilfoyle? Is there a term? How many years? Just 1 year?
Just 1 year.
Just 1 year. All right.
And your question was, is that motion properly stated?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll second it.
All right, wait a second. We need to hear back from the administrator. Attorney Brown, you need to chime in on this?
Please. I'm trying to see I don't understand what the question is. I
I think the
think need to understand what the question
The
is.
commissioner from the 10th is asking if we could provide a refund for 1 year of taxes for Mr. Matthews and his family demolishing a vital gateway to our city for 1 year.
I believe that I believe this matter is not properly before the body in the sense that there are no taxes paid to be refunded unless he has actually paid the taxes. In legal terms, this issue is not ripe for decision.
So you're saying he needs to pay the taxes first, then be brought back before us?
Under any circumstance, he has to pay the taxes. Once he has paid taxes, then the commission can consider refunding all, a part, or none of the taxes.
Okay. All right, Mr. Matthews, according to our legal opinion, you will have to pay those taxes first, and you probably had to come back before this body to ask for what you're asking for now. But I have some other colleagues in the queue, so just sit tight. Commissioner from the 5th, the floor is yours, sir.
Well, I just have one comment. Commissioner Franum just said that we need to be careful of the box that we open with this. Because if we do it for him, we're going to have other folks to come and ask to get rid of their taxes also. So we just need to think about it.
All right. Commissioner Mason?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to make sure that we understood that we couldn't refund something that we haven't received. That's important to note. So the motion would be inappropriate at this particular time. Also, with that being said, I believe that we need to, well, yeah, we definitely need to wait. But the fact of the matter is that even though, $10,000 is not a lot of money, but the bottom line is that when you begin down this road, as we started doing with nonprofits, as you begin down this road, it becomes more and more and more, and then where you're going to drop off the amount of the taxes to where you would say no or yes, or that's too much, or that's not enough, or what have you. So let's be cognizant of what we're doing here. I also take a little exception to the terminology of the verbiage that's being used that said that basically doing the city a favor. I don't really see it that way. I do appreciate what's being done, but anytime you're a private entity and you have some plans of your own and things that's going to be happening, you bought the land for a reason, and so when you say, and that's not you that said that, but when it's stated that if we're doing the city a favor, I don't necessarily see it in that aspect unless you're not asking for anything. Then there's the favor. But when you're asking for something back, then it's not a favor at all, in my opinion. That's not a debatable thing. It's just one of those things that I wanted to clear up for myself. So I think we're in the right frame of mind now that we can't refund something that has not been paid. So the bottom line is once it's paid, would be the appropriate time to entertain it at that particular time after it's been paid, and then we'll see what happens from that standpoint, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 2nd, Commissioner Pooley.
May I speak?
Yes, sir.
I know $10,000 may not seem like a lot of money to a budget of millions. It is a lot of money to us. We did intend to buy this property, yes, for our private entity. However, the time frame of which we purchased this property was right before this was about to go under foreclosure. And if that happened, if you look back at the property records, there's a history and a pattern of hotel owners repeatedly acquiring these properties under foreclosure. And I do strongly believe that if we had not purchased this property, that we would be dealing with the same issue of a partial hotel that is partially condemned and a hazard to the city. So I don't know if y'all have the power to purchase properties and repurpose them. So I'm asking on behalf of a private business owner for your help in any way possible. $10,000 is a lot of money to us when we're trying to come up with the money now, $400,000 to demolish this property. This is not a home. This is not in the same category at all with the 270 demo permits that are in your office. This is a humongous project. So I appreciate you hearing me out.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Matthews.
And by all means, we will pay the tax to get it refunded. just hope that y'all can vote for a future refund where I won't have to come back and present this again.
We're not able to vote for a future refund.
Okay.
We'll have to address it once
So
the
the
tax.
abatement was the original request, but now I have to come back, request a refund after we've made that payment.
That will have to be a separate matter. Yes, sir. It will be.
I can't pay it right now.
My cash app is
That's right.
$.
All right. Let me recognize the rest of my colleagues on the queue. Commissioner Pulliam, floor is yours, madam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I've never been through this before, so.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is for the tax assessor's office. Is there a way for you to do a comparison so that if he's paying the taxes based on a structure being there, are we able to see a side-by-side comparison as to what it would be without the structure being there?
We can obviously provide those figures for the commission if requested. We value all structures as of January 1, though, and that's what was existing January 1 of 2023. 2024, like I said, will be a completely different matter because we know he's demoing the property. I see it every day. I drive past it every day. That's a tough question to answer. We can provide those figures if requested, absolutely.
Because for years, so my reason in asking that is because for future years, if there is no structure there, he would be paying the taxes on just the raw land.
That's true. However, that land value may not be the same in January 2024 as it is in January 1 of 2023. All of those factors change annually, so I'd hate to do a future projection to know what the market's going to indicate.
But you can do a projection for 2023.
We can.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 1st, Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, sir. I just have a quick question. Is this area an opportunity zone, enterprise zone? Is it a TAD? Is this area, does it qualify?
I think most of it does.
No? Okay, so I want to submit, just for the record, and just for food for thought for the commission, is that this is a big area for the city. If we were to take certain areas and identify certain corridors, Molly Pond at Gordon Highway at the, Walton Way area, certain areas that we consider our welcome mats, and then maybe look into turning them into opportunity zones or enterprise zones so that businesses, when they come together to want to do certain things in those priority areas, we might be able to lend a helping hand to them. Because I think that while the intention is great, it's good that we're not going to see what we're seeing there now. And the whole corridor needs to change, that whole intersection. So maybe we can look at something in the future as far as how we can sort of incentivize businesses when they come into our priority spaces. So I just want to submit that for food for thought for the commissioner.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. All right, so obviously we can't take any action. So obviously, Madam Clerk, would it be more appropriate to receive this as information without objection? Yes, sir. All right, are there any objection to that? Mr. Matthews, wish we could have better news for you today, but unfortunately we cannot. So you're going to have to come back to this process again, but you did a great job. Thank you for being here, okay? And thank you for your contributions as small businesses to this community. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Clerk, does that conclude our business for today?
Yes, sir.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate your patience. Thank you for being here. This meeting is hereby closed.